This week's episode of the Wildcard Podcast is brought to you by the security measures put into place since last week's episode of the Wildcard Podcast. For example, I've installed laser tripwires in Jeff's chimney to prevent rainbow kitten and butterfly invasions.
There's a shark-infested moat surrounding my house now.
I put a stake outside with a box over it and a string, and when somebody goes to get the stake, you pull the string and you trap them in the box.
Great.
The studio now has a self-destructing microphone. Any unauthorized voices will cause it to blow up.
Tear gas canisters are now pressure-loaded into casings mounted at strategic positions around the perimeter. Using our new surveillance drones, we can trigger responses with significant doses whenever security measures necessitate.
I got this battle axe.
How did you get that?
With these new security updates, no one will ever be able to hijack our podcast again.
You guys do realize that we've just publicly given away all of our booby traps.
Oh, poop. Welcome to the Wildcard Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Eaton, and my co-pilots on this journey to wherever are my good friends Jeff Curtis.
Hello.
And he has a powerful weapon. He charges $5 a pop. Put your money on the dresser for fun. The man with the golden dick, Ron Blair.
Oh my! Yes! I'm gilded.
Yes, that's what we've always said about you.
That's right.
Yeah.
You see what I did
gilded.
there?
It's small, but it's gilded.
Isn't it strange that Lulu wrote an entire song about you?
Isn't that great?
Isn't that great?
I knew she would. She
Yeah.
looked at me when I was a tiny little baby and she was like,
That one.
"Oh, I like him. I'm going to write a song about him.
Yeah.
He's adorable."
Speaking of him,
Yeah.
will him tell everyone what this podcast is all about?
This podcast is about slowing time to 33 RPM.
But that's the regular speed of records.
What? What's the lower one? 12?
78.
78? Is 78 the slower one? Slower
Revolutions
down to
per minute,
78.
so the more revolutions are.
The higher the number, the slower it goes.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not a mathematician, nor am I a sound engineer.
Nor
so
did
give
you
me
ever own a
break.
record player.
I owned a record. I had a record player. Remember? I think I talked about it. The stereo where I listened to the My Life.
I've never had a record player.
My Life 45 100 times in my
Well,
life.
45 is, you know.
That was those
Slower
were the
than
tiny
the 33,
records,
yeah.
and you had the little. I don't know what they're called, but to match the size of the needle, or not the needle, but the thing in the center.
thimble.
No,
Sewing
no,
machine?
I don't think we're sewing.
Oh.
It's that thing in the middle. The little
Yeah.
discs that
Yeah.
you put in. I don't know if they have a name.
I don't know. But anyway, actually, I was incorrect. The higher the number, the faster.
I was gonna
I
say
thought
something.
so. 33 was correct.
I said it
33
incorrectly,
was
but
correct.
33 is still the normal speed for records.
I thought 45 was the normal.
No,
speed for
45
records.
is the normal speed for singles.
Oh, well, what's the one that goes really slow?
That's when you just dial it down.
Call that Ron's brain.
That's right.
They don't make a really slow one, but you can adjust the speed on record players, or at least the ones that we own. Then you could make them go slow.
I'm
Couldn't
pretty
make
sure.
them go backwards.
If
though.
you put
to go backwards, you have to do your finger with
You
the
have to have
needle
the
down so
satanic
that you
cry.
can listen to the satanic
backmasking
messages.
But if you put a 45 on 33, it'll play slow, right?
Yeah.
Well, there we go. It's
Then it
playing on
becomes a
33
70 then it
RPM on a
becomes a
45.
78.
Yeah, I should
the
have
math.
clarified
That's the math
that.
there.
Well, I never said I was bad at my job or good at my job. If they assumed it,
You
that's on
never
them.
said you were bad or good at your job.
Neither one.
Speaking
Neither one. They're
of
pretty
things
indifferent
going
about what I
quickly.
do.
Speaking of things going quickly, this week's favorite section is not exactly a lightning round,
Oh, good.
but it's close because it's a bunch
Yeah.
of. I don't want to say rapid fire, but I've got a bunch of favorites today. that I figured couldn't fill an entire favorite section themselves.
This is a psychiatric exam.
I still
really,
want
isn't
you
it?
to give
Answer as quickly as you can.
But I don't want you to just say your answer and move on. I still want you to give a little bit of justification. Like it's not
Okay,
here's just the answer. So, for example, what is your favorite day of the week?
Saturday.
Why?
Because it's when I'm off and usually free.
Okay.
A Monday.
What?
Because Joe goes to work,
Yeah,
Madeline
you
goes
go
to
to
school,
school,
I'm
okay.
at-
And
I
you're
can stay at
here.
home and do what?
Yeah.
Focus on my
For
own
me,
stuff.
it's always
fair.
for the last 4 or
really
5 years.
fair.
It's been Thursday
Thursdays?
because
Thursday.
on Monday I feel like I deserve.
Yeah.
Like I've had a weekend off. I have to go back to work Monday. I get it.
Yeah.
Tuesday is the pit of despair.
Yeah, Tuesday
There's no
sucks.
weekend in sight.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't deserve this.
Yeah.
When Thursday hits, I'm basically already in weekend mode. Like I'm like, Yeah, tomorrow's
Yeah, I
Fri-
can see that.
tomorrow's
I can
Friday,
absolutely see that.
and I can endure anything on a Friday. So Thursday, I'm like, as soon as I get through today, I'm basically there.
Right.
Once
Right.
Saturday hits, though, I'm like, man, that Monday's awfully close.
Yep.
I don't even get to enjoy Sundays most of the time
Right.
because it's like I gotta work tomorrow.
Though, for me, there's a piece to a Sunday evening, and I always try to preserve that. That's why you'll hear me say, I don't want to do anything on a Sunday night,
Yeah.
because that's my time. That's set aside for me. When I was a kid, you'd see Sunday night programming, and it had the feeling of, we're going to start the week, we're winding down the weekend. And so I guess there's a nostalgia to a Sunday evening. At my home, it was very peaceful. Mom was ironing. We were watching TV or something. It was very nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right,
moment.
next up, favorite season.
Autumn.
Spring. It used to be winter, but now it's spring.
I'm so conflicted here.
Yeah.
Because I love the concept of fall, but the execution isn't always great. Because it seems like it doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't.
It doesn't, yeah. That's disturbing.
We have winter, and we have summer, and then we have a couple days in autumn
yeah,
and spring.
and that's it. Just enough days for you to go, oh, it's so nice.
It's so nice, and then it gets really hot.
Yeah.
I should say summer.
Indian summer.
I should say summer because that's my time off of work. But it's so hot and I don't want to do things.
Yeah.
I would rather have winter than summer.
Agreed.
I agree.
I mean,
I
you need summer for food and stuff like that.
Sure.
But you
But
also
it's so
take people
goddamn
vacation.
hot.
Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
you don't want people
It's
don't
nice
want to
to take
go.
vacation.
Now I love winter because I like the cold.
Yeah.
And personally, as a teacher, I love snow days.
Yeah.
Because I
snow days
love
are great
a
anyway.
surprise day off.
Yeah. I could be unemployed and enjoy a snow day
Yeah.
just because it's a snow
It's
day.
beautiful.
Yeah, snow day.
For
It's
me, like
beautiful.
waking up at 6 a.m. and being like, no, you don't have to go to work today.
Yeah.
And just turning that alarm off and flipping over is glorious. I don't mind working into June. Teachers are going to hate me
Right.
for saying that, but
Right.
for
No.
me, when I wake up in like December or January and it's dark outside and I have to
Yeah.
go to work, I feel like trash.
Yeah.
But like
There's some
when,
mornings.
when it's June and it's morning and the sun's up, I'm like, okay, we can do this.
Yeah.
So I like winter a lot.
I enjoy those snow days for video games.
Yeah.
And when I
Oh,
was
yeah.
a kid, even now, I'll play video games most days.
When I get
but
snow
on
days,
a
that's
snow
what I
day,
do
I feel
sometimes.
no guilt about
Absolutely.
it whatsoever.
Same.
I remember playing Zelda when I was a kid on a snow day, and then I would relive that the last couple of years on a snow day with on the laptop you can
Yeah.
play anything, you can find anything, and
Emulators.
Zelda or Pitfall.
Yeah, I feel the same. There are a lot of times I'll start a video game over snow days, and it may take me a month to finish it, but like it's peppered throughout those snow days. It's
Yeah,
really nice.
oh, yeah.
All right, next up. This one may be too weird. I don't know if this is something you guys will have. a favorite or not.
Weird for this show.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Favorite alarm. Have you ever had an alarm that was like really good, or what kind of alarms do you guys use to wake up in the morning?
Well, I haven't used an alarm in a long time.
Wow, that's
but
Yeah,
I've been a stay-at-home dad,
Yeah.
so
right. It's lovely.
my child was the alarm. I used to, when I had to, because there's a period when I work midnight to late shift in a parking garage
Yeah.
during the week, and then on the weekends I'd try to stay up during the day so I could see my friends and sleep at night, and it was really screwing up my sleeping schedule.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I got to the point where I would make my alarm on the radio like the loudest heavy metal station I could find
Right.
so that I would hear it. There were times when I slept, and it would keep going for like 2 hours before it turned itself off. There was a couple times where I slept through that alarm without
2
waking up
hours?
for the whole 2
Wow.
hours of it.
That's incredible. So
That's
alarms don't work
impressive.
very well for you then.
Well, they usually do, but when you're so tired, if you're out, man.
My normally I'd only had the radio alarm clock with the
Right, the buzz.
yeah, and that's all I'd ever use. But then when I got the cell phone, I could
Exactly.
use any alarm I
I
wanted.
love cell phone alarms.
And so for a while there, it was just a nice, pleasant, generic tone to wake
Yeah.
up to. And I thought, let's mix it up.
Sure.
And so I wanted to see how bad the movie Groundhog Day was. If you woke up every
To
morning
that?
to I Got You, Babe.
Nice.
It's the fucking worst. I did it for like 3 mornings and I went, nope, I'm not doing it. So now it's the Sanford and Son theme.
Okay, I do Jurassic Park theme songs.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
It's a soothing. But there was the best one I've ever used that worked every single time was Survivor's Eye of the Tiger.
Oh, I don't know if I'd
when that
enjoy
would
that.
I would be like standing like looking around for the battle because like that would go off bow 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 bow. I'm like, what's happening? Okay, I'm awake now. Let's do this life thing.
Well, the thing is, if I know I have to wake up, I'll usually wake up before the alarm.
I usually
I do that often myself.
I kind of hate
So,
myself for
but-
it, but I usually do too.
But every morning I want to hear bow, 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 bow. And it
Yeah.
I wake up going, I'm in the inner city of California and I feel great. I'm ready to face the day. 1972.
Next up.
You big dummy.
Favorite celebrity crush? Maybe throughout your whole life, if you want to do that, if you don't have one currently.
Oh, man. That's I don't know. That's like picking my favorite buffet item
No, I'm asking
over the
you to do
years.
that.
Well, okay.
I
Can I do one?
If you don't
Do I
have
to
one,
do
it's
I don't
fine.
have one.
Okay.
You don't have one at all?
Natalie Portman.
Yeah, I know. You've got that thing about Natalie Portman, and
Natalie
I
Portman.
get it. She's quite attractive.
And she's beautiful. She's intelligent.
I had
talented.
for Kim Basinger for a long time
Yeah.
during the Batman era. I was like, oh my god, she's something. And then Joanne Wally Kilmer in Willow. She's has beautiful red hair. She was married to Val Kilmer for a while. Just very sharp features. She'd have made a good elf.
Okay.
I love elf features.
Features.
It's
Yeah.
weird, I know, but Liv Tyler in the Lord of the Rings movies, she's so hot.
I used to. Do you remember the $6 Million Woman?
Yeah, not Lee Majors. That was the dude.
That's the dude
Yeah.
from $6 Million
Yeah.
Man. I used to really like her. I was a teenager.
Well, I mean, that was.
I don't
You're
even
allowed.
remember her
You're
name.
allowed to do that. Yeah.
That's like saying Catherine Bach, back in the Dukes of Hazzard day.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was. She was it. Kathy Ireland for a while.
Yeah.
But her eyebrows bothered me.
Favorite fish.
Flounder.
I don't like fish.
You don't like fish at all?
Well, I don't
So the
like
name of
Fish or shellfish or anything like that?
I didn't
Any
say you had to be a
seafood?
fish you wanted to eat.
No.
Favorite fish you wanted to look at? Oh, that might change my thing.
my answer is hammerhead shark. That's my favorite fish.
Yeah, those are pretty awesome.
I want
Are
to ride
manatees
one.
mammals, though?
Yes,
They're not fish.
They're mammals.
Are they
That's right.
mammals?
Yes, they're
Manatees
they're
are.
mammals. They have body hair.
Wow, they're so pretty.
Sea cows.
They have body hair. I imagine it under their armpits now, like under their fins.
Exactly.
Like
well, it
human
starts
hair.
on their head, and as they get older, it kind of migrates towards the tail.
Okay, I'm going to go with barracuda.
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 Ding, ding,
All right,
ding, ding,
Jeff,
ding,
you want to
ding,
set this one out? You're welcome to. If you want to chime in, you're welcome to.
Okay.
Favorite video game?
Holy shit.
I said it, Ron. Stop it.
Holy
Give me your answer.
shit. Sweet.
I'll go first. So
Yeah.
the Mass Effect trilogy on Xbox is one of my favorites. I play through it once a year.
Yeah.
But also the Batman Arkham games are great.
God, they're awesome.
But my favorite video games are Super Nintendo video games. I love Super Mario World and Donkey Kong Country.
Yeah. Age of Empires 2.
That's a beautiful game.
And
so
Candy
good.
Crush.
Yep.
Fuck. Probably Fallout New Vegas.
Okay.
That's going to be my favorite over time.
Yeah.
But God, I love the Donkey Kongs. The Super Nintendo Final Fantasy games
Okay.
were just breathtaking. And Final Fantasy VII was breathtaking.
Yeah.
God damn, that's an unfair question.
It's never okay. Well, if you thought that was unfair, wait for this one, Ron. Favorite cryptid.
Shit, I'm going with werewolf. I love
Cryptid.
werewolves.
So it's like I don't want to say mythological creature, but it's a creature in whom people believe, even though there's not a great deal of
Okay.
evidence.
Aliens.
Aliens, yeah.
Mothman.
I love the Mothman. He's like, the bridge is gonna fall.
Yep. I even liked the Richard Gere movie quite a bit.
It was great.
I find it very creepy and
It was really
off-putting.
good. I thought the next one was like favorite child, Ron, quick. And
Yeah,
I'd be
favorite-
like, fuck you, man. That's not right. Not that my
You
kids
have-
listen to this
you have
show.
You have an answer, but you just don't have to say it.
Well, you know.
All right. Speaking of Ron and favorites and whatever Ron does, this is
that's-
a Ron-isode.
For better or for worse.
Usually for Ron, let's
All
what do you have
right.
for us?
All right. So we're coming up on, I think fall is what, 20 days away, 19
We're not going
days
to date
away?
when this is being recorded because obviously we record it the day we put it out. So.
Right. So, and
It's soon.
I don't know if I can do the math.
I'm not going to do math.
So as we're coming up on the fall season, I've decided I'm going to dedicate my next 3 episodes to that season somewhat in some ways.
All 3 episodes.
All 3 episodes.
It's a
Because I think that's
trilogy.
all I get.
It's
Yeah.
a trilogy.
I think, yeah, and I'm going to try to do a few things. But let me ask Jared, especially, what's your favorite movie to watch around Halloween?
I mean, the answer is Halloween.
Yes, exactly. Now, we're not going to talk about Halloween specifically.
Yeah.
I want to go over John Carpenter's career.
Okay.
Not so much his life. His life is a whole book on its own. Adrienne Barbeau wrote quite a bit about it in her autobiography. Not quite a bit, but she dedicated a few chapters to being married to John Carpenter as it intertwined with her film career, being in The Escape from New York and The Fog.
The Fog.
The Fog, yeah, we'll get to that. And then at that time, she was also Wes Craven had her for Swamp Thing, and George Romero used her for a few
So
films.
she was a scream queen.
She was absolutely a scream queen, and I can't recommend her autobiography enough. I can't even remember the name of it, but
I can't recommend that thing.
it's great. I know. I have a copy of this book. I've read it twice. It's
What's
such
her
a
name?
good book. Adrienne Barbeau.
Okay.
Because it goes from her time on Broadway to doing Maude to doing being a scream queen, and then later on in life. But it isn't about her. It's about her husband, former husband, John Carpenter.
There are worse things I could do.
That's it. That's it, because she played Rizzo on Broadway.
Yeah.
That was, I don't know that she originated that role, but she was one of the first to play Rizzo. That's it. I'm seeing the book cover now. It's signed. She signed that copy. It's an excellent book. She's a wonderful woman.
Okay.
But just as an overview, a little background, Carpenter was born in 1948 in Carthage, New York. Yeah. His dad was a musician, a music professor. And in 1953, he relocated to Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Yeah, for that place.
Yeah. That's, in fact, I chose Western. I wanted to go to Western because Carpenter had been there.
Yeah.
And I knew he comes back once every fall to do a symposium for his buddy, Corey Lash, down there.
Nice.
The film professor.
Did you get to attend that, or was that...
I did not. I did not, and it killed me. Josh Logs did not attend it, but he saw Carpenter on the way out of it and got me Carpenter's autograph, which was really nice. But it's not like meeting the guy. I've always wanted to meet Carpenter. He had a huge impact on me as a young person, film-wise. So he was interested in films from an early age, specifically Howard Hawks films.
I don't know that name.
Howard Hawks, he did The Thing from Another World.
Okay.
He did Rio Bravo, which I've mentioned on here. Rio Bravo is used in Night of the Living Dead and Assault on Precinct 13. It's just the people trapped inside while there's an outer element trying to get in and destroy them. Exactly. It's that kind of thing.
Isolation, using isolation
That's
as a tool.
exactly it. So before he started high school, he was shooting on 8mm films, as so many little film students did back in the day. He attended
Super 8?
Yeah, Super 8 stuff. He attended Western Kentucky University, where his father chaired the music department. And then after, I think, one semester at Western, maybe 1 year at Western, he went to the University of Southern California's School for Cinematic Arts. And then
That's quite a transition right there.
Oh, yeah. You talk about living the dream, wanting to live the dream, and giving up everything to move out there.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
I had a friend who went to law school there.
Great school, from what I understand. And this was at the same time that the auteurs were working there, or going to school around that area. Either UCLA or USC was Coppola, Scorsese, Spielberg, Lucas, Brian De Palma. All those guys, John Milius. And Carpenter was among that bunch. And so in 1970, he collaborated with a producer by the name of John Longnecker. Longnecker co-wrote, he edited, and composed the music for The Resurrection of Bronco Billy. And mind you, Carpenter's still just fresh out of film school around this time.
Let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
Should Bronco Billy have been resurrected?
That's a good question.
I mean, he died for a reason.
He died for a reason. I wish I had seen this film and then I could have an answer for you.
No, I think you're Ron Blair. I expect an answer anyway.
I know. I'm ashamed that I've never looked this up. I'm
not saying I want a true answer, Ron. We don't go to you for
you want some kind of...
I want you to make crap up so we can just kind of...
Well, no, he shouldn't be resurrected.
Exactly.
The monkey's paw shows us that's a bad
That's
idea.
a bad call.
That's literature going way back that says don't resurrect the dead.
I never liked Bronco Billy in the first place.
No, he was kind of a dick.
All right, please continue.
However... this short film actually won the Academy Award for Best Live Action Short Film. So that gave Carpenter a little bit of
credibility,
cachet coming out of film school. And then his first film as a major director, or first major film as a director, was Dark Star in 1974. It's a science fiction comedy that he wrote with Dan O'Bannon. Dan O'Bannon may be a familiar name because he wrote Alien later on in the 70s. And then he's the one that directed... Return of the Living Dead around 1985-86.
Is that the sequel, or is that just in the...
No, that's a whole other podcast in itself, differentiating Living Dead films. But no, the Return of the Living Dead is almost a parody of Night of the Living Dead, but it's super gory. It's funny, it's goofy, but it's still horror. It's definitely horror, squarely. So Dan O'Bannon went on his own path after Dark Star, but it only cost $60,000 to make, and it says it's difficult to make because Carpenter and O'Bannon multitask the whole thing, with Carpenter writing.
Well, it's Carpenter's kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's this whole doing a cheap movie and multitasking.
Which movie was this again?
This was Dark Star.
Dark Star.
Which is really about a bunch of I get hippies in space. Like they're definitely astronauts, but they're hippies kind of. You know, it's 1974.
That's where we should put all them hippies.
Yeah, up in space where they belong. But it was really fun. It's a fun little movie. It's goofy as shit, but it's great. And you can tell that O'Bannon and Carpenter have a love for the genre in which they're working. They love sci-fi, and it becomes apparent in Dark Star. You know, it's a lot of fun. So O'Bannon acted in the film and did the special effects, which caught the attention of John Carpenter or George Lucas, who hired him to do some special effects on Star Wars.
Really?
He was the team. Yeah, that led to that. And then Carpenter went his own way, and he gained praise during Dark Star, specifically because he showed he knew how to make a low-budget film.
Yeah.
Something that I don't think he ever worked for Roger Corman, but that's something that Corman would look for in directors, and he ended up working with Coppola.
Well, it's kind of you'll even see it currently now. Maybe someone does an indie film, and it's like, well, what could they do if we gave them this?
Right. Look what they can do with nothing.
Yeah.
But, you know, the funny thing is a lot of times they can do more with nothing than they can with a budget.
Because a lot of times the budget comes with oversight.
Right, exactly.
And people saying, well, you need to do this. No, it's got to be this way.
It.
And
And it ends up crimping that creativity that makes
exactly.
an original so good.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, Carpenter's next film after that was a low-budget, of course, thriller, Assault on Precinct 13 in 1976.
I've never seen the original. I've seen most of the remake, if not all of it. I don't recall.
Oh, I love the remake.
It was a
I've
long
seen
time
them
ago.
both.
Yeah, I don't usually expect, to like the remakes, but
Lawrence Fishburne?
Ethan Hawke and Lawrence
yeah.
Fishburne, it was a
I
good
saw
movie.
that.
It's a good movie.
They did a really good job with that. And the original, it's hard to put into words because it looks like an exploitation film. I think I've mentioned on here where a good horror director transcends the genre, the exploitation. It's still an exploitation film, but it's so goddamn good and so compelling that budget didn't matter, exploitation didn't matter, and it just became, this is a good story. It's a well-told story.
Well, it's also easier to do a low-budget movie if everybody's stuck inside the same
Right.
One location.
Right.
location.
Well, the Assault on Precinct 13, what really made it known was near the beginning of the film, there's a bad guy rolling around there's an ice cream truck, and the bad guy is looking at the kids there, and then he ends up killing a little girl, just cold-blooded on the street. And it wasn't graphic, you couldn't show him shooting it was just alluded to, and it shocked the shit out of audiences. You didn't do that back in the day. Like, there were taboos that you didn't cross, and Carpenter crossed it with that. And so that showed the audience...
Unsettled, nothing is safe.
Right. From here on out, there's nothing sacred at this point. And the movie is very intense. It's a very taut thriller, for sure. And so
I read a book that did that once. It was actually a Dean Koontz book.
Which one was it?
I've not read it in a long time. It was. I couldn't tell you. Even if they were all in front, I don't know. I can pick up the
It's
one.
crazy about
But a child was killed.
Yeah.
One of the protagonist children of the main guy was. I did not see it coming.
Yeah, it just tells you, just like Pet Sematary, you go, anything can happen from
But at
here.
least that's Stephen King.
Right, you'd expect that from
Yeah.
him.
Or at least be less thrown off by it. Where
Right.
Dean Koontz is the everything feels fluffy.
The thing about Dean Koontz is
Everything feels
you can read a Dean Koontz book, and how long is it going to take you to forget the name of the book that you read? Just you read a Dean Koontz book.
about a week.
Yeah,
There
that's how I feel about
there are a
this
few
film.
exceptions. Watchers is one.
Watchers is
I
great.
think Odd
Funhouse
Thomas,
is great.
Yeah.
Funhouse is really fun.
Twilight
I've
Eyes
heard
is a
Odd
good one.
Thomas.
I
was
think I've
really
mentioned
good.
Twilight Eyes
Eyes
before.
is good. So anyway, this is pretty much
You should read Phantoms. It's a good Dean Koontz.
I would like
It's
to read
creepy.
that. I thought the film was okay. It wasn't
It's much
great,
better.
but it was okay. But anyway, as with Dark Star, Carpenter was responsible for many multitasking.
Did he do music for that one as well?
He absolutely did. He scored. I'm pretty sure he scored almost everything with his band, the Coupe de Villes. If it wasn't just him, it was the Coupe de Villes, which
The villain of the 101 Dalmatians.
right, exactly. And that had Alan Howarth in it. Howarth later on became a composer in his own right for musical scores and ended up doing the Halloween score in Part 4 with Carpenter, although Carpenter had very little to do with that. But Alan Howarth was doing the music. So yeah, he wrote it, directed it, scored it, edited it, using the name of John T. Chance, which was the name of John Wayne's character in Rio Bravo.
Did he use a different name so that people would think, okay, well, he's doing everything?
He's done that a few times, yeah.
Make it seem like it's a
to where
bigger production.
He's using a pseudonym so that it won't be his name appearing in the credits over and over and over and over.
So Ron,
again.
you already had a pseudonym because you
Yeah.
did stand up. So what are Jeff and my pseudonyms?
Oh shit! Here's God. It's difficult because actually a lot of thought went into Reaper
Yeah.
M. Jones, and I couldn't tell you. My first email address was Reaper1800, just because I liked horror and
Yeah,
stuff
makes
like
sense.
that. And then I got on message boards and it picked up, and then I was like, well, Reaper needs to become a persona, so I used my mother's maiden name of Jones. And then I added the M, my mother's name is Mary Jones. So, Reaper M. Jones. And then I added the F later, Reaper Magnum Fernando Jones. Because I'm Reaper MF Jones,
Yeah.
motherfucker. So, anyway.
See how you just avoided my
Yeah,
question?
he
That was
avoided
nice.
your
It's
question.
all together. No, I'm not giving you a nickname. You got to
Thanks,
come up
buddy.
with your own.
No, you
You got
don't.
to
That's not
wear
what
it.
nicknames
You got to
are.
wear it with like a badge of pride. Anyway, this was the first time Assault on Precinct 13.
Deckheads, let us know what Jeff's and my pseudonym should be. If we don't like it, we'll be mad at you.
Yeah, give it to them. Put it on them. They don't do anything. They just sit there and listen. Come on, guys. Get active. Anyway, Deborah Hill, this is the first movie they worked on together. They would collaborate later on. They were romantically involved for a while. But, so that one did pretty well. It got a lot of notice.
We're still talking about Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah, I'm trying so hard to not be anymore.
It's okay. It's a good.
Okay.
I just want to clarify that. I'm making sure I've been distracting you quite a bit. I want to make sure we're still on the same page.
Yeah, I think so. After that, he wrote and directed the Lauren Hutton thriller. You know, he was getting acclaim and notice at this time, so people were willing to work with him. Did one called Someone's Watching Over Me, or Someone's Watching Me. I don't know
Always
anything
feel
about
like
that. That's
somebody's watching me.
So, and then his first film for a major studio was The Eyes of Laura Mars, which he did not direct, but he wrote that one. That with Faye Dunaway and Tommy Lee Jones, directed by Irvin Kershner.
I remember the name of that. I must have seen it, but I don't remember the movie.
I've seen it and I don't. Yeah. I remember the end just because it's sort of iconic with Tommy Lee Jones busting through the window. Spoiler alert, he's the guy who's been stalking Laura Mars or whatever. But I really don't remember much of it either. It's just Laura Mars going crazy for an hour and a half.
Laura gains the ability to see visions from a serial killer's perspective. And it happens to be her friends and associates that he is stalking.
Oh, it's Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones. Spoiler
Cool
alert.
poster.
So, after that, he
poster.
was getting... Oh, yeah, I love the poster. When I worked at the...
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the ones I took home from the video store one day because the box always... You know, oh, what a good box.
Oh, yeah.
What a great looking artwork. So, by this point, he had gotten enough acclaim and shown himself to be a good enough director that... their names get past me. Mustafa Akkad approached Carpenter.
That's your favorite fish?
No,
Mustafa
Flounder.
Akkad? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Mustafa Akkad and Erwin Yablans wanted to do a film called
Erwin.
The Baby.
We can't just go past
Erwin
that.
Yablans.
We can't just go past the name Yablans.
Erwin Yablans.
I
and,
think you need to do that in one of your classic country accents.
Yeah.
Erwin Yablans.
Oh, you can do better
Erwin
than that.
Yablans. Erwin Yablans.
Yablans.
Erwin Yablans.
Erwin and Yablans.
Erwin Yablans. I'm
There we
Erwin
go.
Yablans.
There you go.
All right. So they wanted to make a movie called The Babysitter Murders, and they approached Carpenter to write it and develop
Direct
a
it.
story behind it.
So they wanted to make a movie
don't
that they
know-
wanted someone else to completely...
That's a thing. That's
Great.
a common thing, though. that
So
these
they have an
producers-
idea, but-
they have a title. Remember when I did Friday
Yeah.
13th? Sean Cunningham said, "I got a tagline, I got a title," and that's all he had. And he commissioned everything
What
else.
was it? What was it? Was it Blood and Moon? What was the...
Camp Blood.
Camp Blood.
Bad
Yeah.
night, long
Yeah.
night at Camp
Camp
Blood,
Blood,
or
that's
something
right,
like
yeah.
that. Yeah, Friday 13th is a better title.
Yes, it is.
So Carpenter said they wanted to do it around Halloween, and Carpenter
I always
came
wanted
up with
to
the
do it
story
around
with Deborah
Halloween.
Hill. He filmed it for $300,000, which is nothing even for back then, and it changed the name to Halloween. It ended up earning $65 million. And became, for a long time, I think until Blair Witch was the highest earning independent film ever made.
Well, it's all profit if he made it for
Every
$300,000.
bit of it. Every last bit of
Yeah.
it. They took this...
That had Jamie Lee Curtis in it, right?
Yes.
Was that her first role?
It was her first major role. I don't know that it was her first. She had probably done something here and there, but Halloween made her, You know, it made her what she was.
Yeah, she did horror movies
for a long time
until she gave it up completely so that she'd be taken seriously.
Right, in the early to mid 80s.
Yeah.
But she...
Donald?
No, she was a kid. You know, she was just this kid. And...
well, the daughter of Tony Curtis, so she...
Right, Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh.
She was only 20 when she filmed it.
Yeah, she was just a baby. All of them were. You know, they were all a bunch of kids. Trying to figure out how to do a big budget... or not big budget, but a big budget looking kind of film.
Actually, she was 19 when she shot it.
Oh my God!
She was the only one of the female leads who was a teenager.
Really?
Yeah, the other ones were a little bit older. I think PJ Souls and what's her name?
But isn't she the only one who survived?
Yeah, Jamie Lee was definitely the star of the film.
Nancy Keys?
Nancy Keys, that's her. Nancy Loomis at the time. But Carpenter, when he was making Halloween, said he wanted to do true crass exploitation. He said, I decided to make a film I would love to have seen as a kid, full of cheap tricks like a haunted house at a fair where you walk down the corridor and things pop out at you. We've all seen Halloween, and I think we can agree that it's revolutionary, the style that he utilized during that. And a lot of it goes to Dean Cundy, the director of photography, who invented the Steadicam
so well
to do this. So
really?
Those scenes where he's in the first part of the movie where it's like the kid puts on the mask. It's first person point of view. All that is such a long, slow Steadicam shot. And it's so smooth. Nobody had been able to do that before, and Dean Cundy invented the Steadicam for the most part.
That's the thing about the slowness of a lot of the shots in this.
Yeah.
Just the tension is ratcheted.
Yeah.
It's not so much what you see as it is what you think is going to happen.
Absolutely. And I love... Carpenter was one of them that he would put all the subtleties in the background. Michael Myers was always in the background, or there were clues of it. In fact, one of my favorite examples, and it took me several viewings as a child to watch this. I understood it before I was no longer a kid, but there's a scene where Annie, the babysitter, is going to pick up her boyfriend, and she goes to her car, realizes she doesn't have the keys. She goes back into the house, gets the keys, goes back to the car, opens the car door, and then gets into the car without it, so it's no longer locked. And then she realizes that there's steam on the windshield, and which would indicate somebody is in the car. Yeah. And then as she's realizing somebody's in the car, that's when he gets her. Just a brilliant sequence of events, and so subtle that if you didn't notice, how could she be expected to notice? And that's where we relate to that character. The staging of that is just, it's smart. Halloween's just a smart movie. It rose above what it was at the time. And of course it brought in the slasher genre. It created it. Yeah. It was the birth of the slasher genre altogether.
Did you mention how quickly it was shot?
Let's see.
I can tell you if you don't know.
Was it 30 days, 28 days?
20
days. Yeah, I knew it was a
shot
quick turnaround.
Days.
Wow.
And it was a lot of footage to film. There's a lot of complexities there. These guys busted their ass.
Just to be completely transparent, I'm looking at trivia on IMDb currently.
Well, that's smart.
Every single thing on here is amazing.
Yeah.
Here's one.
Give us some.
As the movie was actually shot in early spring in Southern California, as opposed to Illinois in late October.
Let me finish this.
Yeah, go ahead.
They took bags of dried leaves, dead leaves.
Paper leaves.
Paper leaves, and spread them on the streets. And so if you watch the movie...
And they paint them.
And they painted them, every single leaf... Or whatever. And then, so if you watch the movie, there's dead leaves on the ground and complete green trees all lining. And you don't even notice because you're so into the story.
Not only that, to save money, after a scene was filmed, the leaves were collected and reused. Over and over again.
That's
how you save some money right there.
Absolutely. Wow. Isn't that great?
All the actors wore their own clothes. So there was no money for a costuming. Jamie Lee Curtis went to J.C. Penney for Laurie's wardrobe. She spent less than $100 for the entire set.
That's beautiful. No,
she was paid. Do you know how much Jamie Lee Curtis was paid for the movie?
$15,000.
$8,000.
$8,000.
That's
$8,000. But what did it do for her?
Started her career, that.
Like every single trivia I'm like is just makes me happier and happier.
Oh yeah. There's Halloween. I love the movie Halloween because the trivia is so neat.
Every time you want a trivia, you go back do what you want to do. Every time you want a trivia, just point to me and I'll give you a trivia.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on at the moment.
No. Okay.
I know. We could go Halloween all day. It's the best movie. It's just such. It's
my favorite horror movie.
Yeah. It's consistently in my top 3, if not at the number 1 spot.
And I know,
most of the
and I
time.
don't want to disrespect other horror movies.
No, and that's the thing.
But like, I know how much you like, and people love Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't work for me.
Well, I'm aware of what it is, though. I know what it is, and it's not going to be for everybody.
He is a force of nature, just like Michael Myers, and I get that. But I don't find it scary. Like, there are kills, and I say he, obviously it's she.
Right. But it's not stylized like the way
it doesn't work. It doesn't frighten me in the way that, like, seeing him standing by the fence does in Halloween.
Right.
Just in the middle of the daylight, just seeing him standing.
It's funny the reverence that we have for these other horror films. Like, honestly, I like Dawn of the Dead, 78, better than I like Night of the Living Dead.
Right.
But how can you can't put Dawn of the Dead in any way above Night of the Living Dead outside of I like that better.
Right.
Because Night of the Living Dead is another one like Halloween that created a milestone for the horror genre and filmmaking in general, period.
So speaking of tropes that may have started with Halloween, this is the last trivia, I'll let you move on. Okay. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill have stated many times over the years that they did not consciously set out to depict virginity as a way of defeating a rampaging killer. The reason why the horny teens all die is simply that they're so preoccupied with getting laid, they don't notice there's a killer at large.
Yeah.
Laurie Strode, on the other hand, spends a lot of her time alone and is therefore more alert. But that became a trope.
Yeah, it's an accidental trope kind of thing. And then people have made a big deal, like the stabbing is actually the penetration. Yeah. It's a metaphor for sexual penetration and stuff like that. People read a lot into horror. I'm guilty too. I read a lot into it as well. So after that, of course, he could pick his job at that time. Not major studio stuff, but he had options at this time.
Well, once your film earned $67 million off of a $300,000 budget, I imagine you've got a lot of offers coming your way.
Yeah, they're going to want to hire you. And hire him they did when he directed the film, the television film Elvis. The only reason that's
Is that the one with Jeff? No.
You're close. Yes. You're there. You're so close.
I know. What's his...
I love him. He's one of my favorites. Kurt Russell.
Yeah, Kurt Russell.
That was his first collaboration with
I remember
Kurt
watching
Russell.
that on TV.
How was it? Was it decent?
I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah?
It starts out with Elvis shooting a television set, I believe.
That's so Elvis. That's so Carpenter. So, in 1980... Carpenter, of course, coming off of Halloween and Elvis, which is a footnote, really, considering the arc of his career.
It's a strange choice to hire Carpenter to do a TV movie on Elvis.
Yeah, isn't that weird? It's so weird. But I guess things happen for a reason. Yeah, just a job.
And maybe it was like he wanted to try a different kind of genre that he'd never really worked on before.
That's what I'm thinking. But
or maybe he was an Elvis fan.
Well, I guarantee you he was an Elvis fan. The Coupe de Villes, that's very... It's not rockabilly, but it's obviously influenced by the same things that would have influenced Elvis. So after that, Carpenter decided he wanted to make a film that was inspired by horror comics like Tales from the Crypt and the film The Crawling Eye about monsters hiding in the clouds. And so he and Deborah Hill came up with The Fog. Have you guys seen it, or are you familiar?
I know the name.
I know the name. I don't think I've ever seen it.
I think I might have seen a remake of it, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong with that.
If you've seen the remake, then there's probably a bad taste in your mouth over that. It was bad. It was just awful.
The remake?
The remake.
2005. Yeah, I think I might have seen. There's the one years one that came out in 1980 with Adrienne Barbeau and
that's it.
Jamie Lee Curtis,
Janet
Leigh. All of them were in it.
Janet Leigh and
wow.
And there's very. I think Janet Leigh and Jamie Lee Curtis spend very little time on camera together.
Nancy Keys is in it too.
Nancy Keys plays Janet Leigh's assistant in that one. Oh yeah. You may see the name Tommy Wallace in there. Nick Castle in there. He has his group of people that he works with often. But The Fog was an insanely difficult film to create. And again, it looks like exploitation. It looks like a comic book popcorn movie. But it looked like it was hard as hell to do this movie, especially the way he did it. After the first cut, he was not happy with the result of The Fog.
How did he do that? Why was it so difficult? Because he's creating a fog?
Well, no, it's not just the fog, although that's a special effect that is difficult to wrangle.
Yeah.
But it's set on an oceanside town. You have one of the main locations is a lighthouse, And there's a wide shot of the lighthouse that shows these stairs, narrow stairs leading all the way down, like 100 stairs leading down to this lighthouse. And every day they shot at the lighthouse, they would have to pack all of the equipment down this enormous staircase to get to the lighthouse.
This one only shot 30. It took only 30 days to shoot.
And it's amazing if you watch the film. And even for as much as I love Halloween, The Fog is an obvious step up.
Well,
it's a little more sophisticated.
The budget on this one was significantly higher. It was $1 million, just over $1 million as opposed to $300,000. And although this was essentially a low-budget independent film, John Carpenter chose to shoot the film in an anamorphic widescreen Panavision, which gave the film a grander feel, so it didn't feel like a low-budget horror film.
No, absolutely. When you watch it, it's there's a lot of seascapes. He really gives you the feel of being in a haunted sort of harbor town in that day. And of course, shooting on the water is always going to be difficult.
We didn't hear about that at all in Jaws.
No.
Sound like a party.
Yeah.
So he ended up filming additional footage. There were a number of new scenes. And as an editor, that's going to be difficult to insert that because you have the original script and you have the redone script, you have the extra scenes.
Was he editing this one himself too?
I don't think he edited that one, although I don't have the name of the editor here.
Yeah, because continuity is harder once you've filmed your movie and people have gone on, and then you have to get them to come back and do some scenes, and whether their hair's grown or cut,
all those differences.
In
fact, Kurt Russell was offered a role in this,
and he had to turn it down. I don't know what he was doing at the time, but it was made on a budget of $1 million, grossed $21 million in the United States alone. The critics hated it; they didn't care for it at all, and I think it's because it is exploitation. It's an obvious. It doesn't transcend it as much as Halloween does. But to me, it's a fun little movie. It's like a little zombie movie, but the zombie is the fog, and there's lepers inside of it.
But he made a profit.
He made a profit, and his style is so clear in this film as well. It's even more defined. There's one great example of a scene where there's the ghostly lepers assault a boat near the beginning of the film. And the way Carpenter plays this is you see this creature emerge from the fog and grab a guy by the back of the neck. And then Carpenter does a close-up of the guy's face. The guy's eyes are wide. They're wide, staring at this guy. And then you see a small handheld trident, and you just see it go up in the air as if to stab. And then you see the hand move forward, and then you just hear like that. It goes into the eyes, and you never see it going into the eyes, but because of the way that sequence was filmed and put together, it's insanely disturbing just to hear what you know is somebody being stabbed in the face with a trident.
Yeah.
And Carpenter was, much like De Palma or Hitchcock, was so good at the psychology of fear and using sound and the viewer's imagination to put those pieces together. And that, to me, is more disturbing than seeing it.
A couple of trivia things from The Fog. One was that Carpenter initially intended for it to be a PG.
Yeah, there was no way on earth. Yeah, marketable.
A couple cool Adrienne Barbeau facts.
Yeah.
In the last scene where Stevie is on top of the lighthouse and the fog slowly disappears, the crew realized they wouldn't be able to get the fog to roll out, so they had Adrienne Barbeau do this scene in reverse.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't that something?
Adrienne Barbeau
and then they just run it backwards.
Adrienne Barbeau has one scene with her son and a climactic showdown with two of the ghosts.
Yeah.
Other than that, all of her scenes were by herself with no direct on-screen interaction with any other characters.
And yet she's such an important character. She's the narrator. She's the narrator of the whole story. You're seeing it through her eyes, but the actual suspense is around Jamie Lee Curtis and Tom Atkins, and then Janet Leigh and Nancy Keys. They're the survivors, and Adrienne Barbeau is watching all of this unfold from her lighthouse, and she's on the radio going, stay out of the fog, lock your doors, close the windows. She's the voice of it, the warning. It's a great film that harkens back to the old days of cinema, and you can tell that with John Carpenter, where there's that you could almost liken her bit at the end to Kevin, I think his name is Kevin O'Connor. No, it's not Kevin O'Connor. I can't remember his name, but it was the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where at the end he's telling the audience, warn people, they're here. And that's what The Fog has the feel of. This great old-timey, fun kind of movie.
I love it. The original Invasion of the Body Snatchers is better than any of the remakes, and there's been several remakes.
Yeah, but I love the 78 version.
Well,
with
the
Donald
78,
Sutherland.
well, I like that one, and that's probably the first one I saw. But if you the original one doesn't, it's better because it doesn't suffer from any of these things that people do to try and update the story.
Sure. The special effects wouldn't get in the way.
Right.
Yeah, I love the story behind Invasion of the Body Snatchers anyway. But
it's disturbing.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? So, of course, at this point, even though it was a critical failure, John Carpenter made money, and so he was able to do what he wanted.
No one cares
next.
what the critics think.
No, not if you make
money.
If
you make profit. If you don't make a profit, and the critics said it, then
so fortunately, he was able to move on, and he wrote "Escape from New York." 1981.
Kurt Russell.
And as we all know, that became this cult classic. Yet another low budget movie that ended up making a ton of money. Critical acclaim.
It doesn't look like a low budget movie, though.
No. It's crazy. It's grainy, but his set pieces are so lush, and he captures that dinginess.
And it's a big cast.
Oh, it's huge. I was about to get to that. It's Donald Pleasance playing the president.
Ernest
Borgnine, Adrienne Barbeau again, Tom Atkins again. Charles Cyphers, he was also in Halloween in the Fog. I've met Cyphers. He's a wonderful guy. He and I actually talked about playing Tevye and discussed our experiences with Shakespeare. He performed Shakespeare for Elizabeth Taylor. I did not have that distinction in my life. Yeah, I'd have to dig her up. And
she could be the skull.
right, exactly. Kurt Russell, Harry Dean Stanton, Lee Van Cleef, the old Western star.
Yeah,
all those guys are in this movie. It grossed more than $25 million, which was not bad in the 80s.
How much did it cost?
Isaac Hayes?
Isaac Hayes is in it.
How much?
I don't see the...
I'll
can you find that?
To get all those actors, it would seem like it would have cost more.
It's definitely a bigger budget than $1 million, I would think.
Budget was $6 million estimated.
Yeah, $6 million.
It grossed about $25 million.
And these guys are legends. That we're talking. Lee Van Cleef, shit.
Yeah.
And so,
Snake Plissken's eye patch was suggested by Kurt Russell.
I think it was fantastic though. It became iconic.
Yeah.
So you've seen Escape from New York
several times. Same set that was used for Blade Runner.
I can see that. Yeah. It was very darkly lush. Not steampunk. I can't find the right word for it, but the dystopian, this grungy dystopian future.
70s dystopian, 80s dystopian.
And for those who haven't seen it, Escape from New York is the president's airplane went down in New York, which has become its own penal colony. Yep. And I'm sure the date on it, I'm sure we've passed the date that Escape from 97. New York was it 97? Yeah. It was supposed to have been 97, so...
Donald Pleasance, we mentioned he uses him as more than once. Donald Pleasance drew on his own wartime experiences as a prisoner of war for his performance as the imprisoned president.
Oh, I can see that.
Wow.
You can.
He was in prison. He was a prisoner of war. Wow.
Yeah. The Snake Plissken, Kurt Russell's character, is sent in to retrieve the president, and along the way he meets Adrienne Barbeau and Ernest Borgnine. He meets on the way Harry Dean Stanton. Isaac Hayes plays the Duke.
Going back to people that Carpenter likes to use, who did the opening narration, and was the voice of the computer.
Adrienne Barbeau.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
There you go. Oh, I was thinking of the computer and the Thing. Which this brings us to The Thing.
I love the
yeah. There were two of them that I really wanted to get to, and that was Halloween and The Thing.
Yeah.
And of course, that one, Escape from New York, became a cult classic. It made some money, and so therefore, John Carpenter was offered. He didn't want to do it, but he was offered to remake The Thing from another world.
Yeah.
One of his favorite Howard Hawks movies from the day. And if you've never seen it, it's great. Have you?
I've seen them both.
It's great, isn't it?
I had seen it before he made The Thing, and I thought, cool. I want to see the remake of this movie because I enjoyed the first one so much.
Well, the suspense, and they have the great Howard Hawks woman who's like, "You fellas, I'm just as good as any man. Now, you guys follow me. You listen to me for once." Which Howard Hawks, of course, known for the quick, snappy dialogue that he would use, and then that's been duplicated by people later on.
Wasn't the Thing the first movie with who's that old guy who ended up doing
Wilford Brimley.
Wilford Brimley, yeah.
He was in, I don't know if it was his first film, but he was in it. Was it his first movie?
Yeah.
He was great. Well, the whole cast.
The whole cast is great.
It's a small cast.
Yeah. Like,
and again, it's
10
a simple
guys,
location.
All men. Adrienne Barbeau was the only female. She wasn't even on set. It was her voice, doing the voice of the computer. Deborah Hill actually was the only woman on set. Everybody else was guys. Now, this was in 1982. Of course, the production values for this thing. You know, what was the budget on this?
$15 million.
Cause shit,
He actually lost money on this one.
It was a commercial failure.
Well,
which is
sure,
shocking.
I'm sure over the years it's made up the rest of that money. But
when John Carpenter said it's his favorite film, he's done.
Yeah,
well, it should be. It's a great movie.
It's fantastic. It's
so effective.
Legendary. I think the thing was a little bit ahead of its time, and that's why it failed.
Jerry Goldsmith was supposed to score it, but he passed.
Ennio Morricone ended up doing it.
It's the first one Carpenter did to himself.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if he had.
You got Ennio Morricone, and the music. If you've ever sat and listened to the Thing soundtrack, it's just.
And I can tell you, one of the reasons it lost money was it opened on the same day as Blade Runner.
Well, there you go.
That did it. Mm-hmm. Although I'd watch the Thing over the Blade Runner any day.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah, I like Blade Runner. I watched it last week for the first time in 30 years, and what I watched was the final cut. Not the version I watched years before. I don't know which one is right. I don't know. I don't remember the other one.
I've never been a big Blade Runner fan. I finally watched the new Blade Runner movie, and I really enjoyed that one. But I would have gone to the Thing over Blade Runner
any day of the week. Any day of the week. I love the solitude that these guys have. These 8 to 10. This team of 8 to 10 people, including Wilford Brimley, Richard Dysart, who played Doc, Charles Callahan, Keith David, who was a child's,
what a voice.
Richard Monsieur, the dog handler.
The autopsy scene?
Yeah.
John Carpenter said Wilford Brimley was the only one not grossed out by it. Because he was a real-life cowboy and hunter, so he was used to gutting stuff. Everyone else was like disturbed by it.
Well, let's talk about the testament to Rob Bottin's special effects work in that film.
All right, let's do that.
At that time, in what movie ever had you seen special effects like that, except maybe The Howling or American Werewolf? But you didn't see stuff like that. And I think Rob Bottin may have done The Howling. I don't think that was Rick Baker. I think it may have been Rob Bottin, but I'm not sure about that.
Oh, it's got fantastic special effects.
Oh, it's just amazing and creative because the little legs pop out of the dude's head and starts walking away, and that one guy goes, "You got to be fucking kidding!" That's one of my favorite lines in the history of films, right there. So he used the same source material, which was John W. Campbell's novella "Who Goes There." Both of those films were based on that. Unlike Hawke's film, The Thing was part of what Carpenter later called his Apocalypse trilogy. The trio of films including Prince of Darkness, which we'll touch on briefly, and In the Mouth of Madness, which I really want to get to. Both of them having bleak endings.
Yeah, The Thing doesn't have a happy ending.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they kill the Thing, but Kurt Russell has to.
Well, that's the thing. Did they kill the Thing? Did they kill it? At the end, he and Childs are like, I don't know if you're the Thing, but I don't really have the energy to do anything. Neither one of us have the energy to do anything.
But everything is burned down, and they're
going to freeze.
They're going to freeze to death.
They're going to freeze to death. And of course, the comic books later on latched onto it, and they found a way to continue the story.
But you don't want that story continued because it's perfect the way it is. It's like the first Highlander movie. Why do a sequel to that movie?
There was no reason.
It ended perfectly for that movie. To do a sequel just because you want to see these characters again is a terrible idea.
There being a sequel to Highlander, it completely defeats the entire purpose of the first film.
Exactly.
There can be only one.
There can be only one. And
sometimes though, there's a guy that comes back from time, and then he comes back and tries to kill you.
It was different when they made the television series because, it's a rebooting of the whole idea.
Right, and that's fine.
That's fine.
But you can't sequelize it.
You can't sequelize it.
No!
But back to John Carpenter. Well, you can because if you have the money, but
Ennio Morricone's score for the Thing was nominated for a Razzie Award for Worst Score.
It's not a horrible score, though, I don't think.
Well, it's become a classic.
Yeah, I love it. Of course, it also didn't help that it was released in the summer of 1982, which had another film about an alien entitled E.T.
Oh, E.T.
Yeah.
There you go.
So you could either go with the cute alien, which everybody did, or you can go with the vicious, awful alien. I like E.T. enough, but it's not the Thing.
The dog thing?
Yeah.
In the movie, you know who created it?
Who?
Stan Winston.
Stan
One of the most
Winston.
famous. He did Jurassic Park. He did Terminator.
He did Predator.
Yeah.
He created the Alien.
He was not credited. He got a thank
credited.
you in the closing credits, but he wasn't actually listed.
Wow, that's something.
The film was banned when released in Finland.
The Thing was?
Mm-hmm.
I can see that though.
Well, didn't the Thing get? Wasn't it the Finns or was it Swedes?
It was the
Norwegians.
Norwegians. Yeah. So after The Thing, despite it being a financial disappointment, which that's still disturbing news
Carpenter
to me.
took it very hard.
Yeah, he would because that's
film.
his favorite movie, and it's a great.
If you're up
film.
against E.T. and Blade Runner,
he was fucked by timing on this whole thing.
But I know I saw both E.T. and The Thing in the movie theater different times, but I enjoyed both, but. If I had to watch one now, it'd be The Thing. Even then, it would have been The Thing. I would have chosen The Thing over E.T., which I enjoyed in the movie theater. I'm not so fond watching it now. It's kind of dated and stuff that. Yeah. But at the time, it was a good movie.
Yeah,
it's still a good movie.
But compared to The Thing, which is a cult classic, a legendary film.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine.
Well, The Thing is a much simpler story. And you're fighting for survival as opposed to these kids riding their bikes through air trying to save this alien creature, which is good. It's a good story.
Yeah, it's fine, but The Thing is such a slow burn. It's an hour and 45 minutes, which is long for a horror film or sci-fi film at that time. And during the first half hour, you do spend a lot of time going, well, what's going to happen? What's going on? But when by the time something does happen, that's what I love. He builds suspense for 45 minutes or so. Yeah. And then when it gets going, holy shit.
Exactly.
What you've got coming is insanity, and it wouldn't be possible without that slow half an hour to 45-minute burn to it.
Which is what I love. The horror movies that I love, it's that suspense. It's not the jump scares. It's building that suspense. And then all hell breaking loose. But then by then you're ready for all hell breaking loose. In fact, you want all hell to break loose.
Right.
Everything's so tight.
It'll be easier to handle.
You'll feel relief. You'll get that relief from being scared.
Now, I don't know if you know this. There's The Thing board game.
I did not know that.
It's at Hard Knocks here in town.
Well, is it like role playing or just a board game?
Essentially, the way I understand it is each of you play like a scientist, and you have to undergo these research projects, and like all the while someone has been infected. And only that person knows who the person who's infected is, and they're kind of working against everybody else.
That's awesome.
And they can infect other people, and if so it's like neat. One versus everybody else.
Yeah. Well, after The Thing, which Universal they wanted to work with Carpenter.
Of course they did.
Yeah, he made a great film despite it being commercially, and then the critics didn't like it. I think it was
did not
too
lose
much for
much
them.
Money.
Yeah,
it was like $1 million.
Yeah, it wasn't a horrible flop, but the critics didn't like it, and I think they just couldn't handle the. I think it was very gory. It was very bloody, and they sort of shied away from that. But Universal offered John Carpenter the chance to direct Firestarter.
Really?
The Stephen King Firestarter, yeah.
Well, that was a horrible movie.
So Carpenter, Carpenter hired Bill Lancaster and Bill Phillips to adapt the novel into different versions of the screenplay, and he wanted Richard Dreyfuss to play Andy McGee.
I can see that.
David Keith character.
David Keith character.
But when The Thing failed, Universal replaced him with Mark Lester.
Well,
forget what I said about them still wanting to work with him. They didn't.
That was probably good for him because Firestarter, the movie they made, was horrible. It could have been a great movie. It's a great book.
It's an awesome
novel. It's one of the best Stephen King books out there. And it could have been a fantastic movie, and still could be again if someone wants to make a good movie out of it.
But they've gone exploitation.
They went exploitation. The choices they made, and they were trying to create a vehicle for the girl.
Oh, Drew Barrymore.
For Drew Barrymore. And Drew Barrymore, while she was cute in E.T., couldn't act for shit.
Not in that.
Firestarter.
No, it was dumb.
Called for a much more complex actress than Drew Barrymore was capable at that time. Now, she's become a very good actress.
Oh, yeah, she's great
now. Once she got past her drugged out teen years.
Right.
But
Firestarter, George C. Scott was the good thing about that movie.
I love George C. Scott, but he was miscast in that movie.
Oh, he wasn't the character. He wasn't the big Native American character he was supposed to be. But he was great in that movie. He's George C. Scott.
Yeah, he's George C. Scott.
And
David Keith. I love David Keith.
He did a fine job. Yeah. I don't know that he would have been Dreyfuss, or I don't know that Dreyfuss would have been right for the role. Well, probably not.
I was just looking at John Carpenter's credits.
Yeah.
He's credited with Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and Halloween 4, but not Halloween 2.
Well, he composed 3 and 4. He wrote 2, though. That's weird that they wouldn't mention him on that. But
yeah, the thing didn't show up either. I think IMDb's just kind of got some sketchy
that
stuff
could
there.
be.
Because I see that when I go into the actual page, that he's credited as a writer.
But of course, you couldn't throw a rock and not hit a Stephen King movie adaptation at the time.
Yeah.
So he was offered Christine in 1983.
Oh, that's another bad movie.
No, it's not horrible.
It's not good.
No, it's not good. It's not good. I don't think it's horrible, but it's not good. Of course, the story is about the high school nerd who gets a junked 1958 Plymouth Fury, which has a mind of its own.
So did he do that movie, though?
He did direct Christine,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and there is a lot of suspense in it. But Carpenter leaves his mark on Christine, at least. There's a style to it.
Big Trouble in Little China. Wow.
Carpenter, but he has been, and it was received well by the critics. It did pretty good business, so Carpenter, was able to get back on top again. But he was quoted as saying he directed the film because it was the only thing offered to him at the time.
I believe
so.
that.
It was just a job.
Yep.
After that, he did Starman by Columbia Pictures. The script was well received, and this was Carpenter's cuddly, nice.
Was that the one where Jeff
flick.
Bridges is the alien trying to get back?
Yeah,
to
he's
space?
trying to get back, and then it was Marion from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Karen Allen.
Yeah.
Karen Allen, who was the lady in there. It's a good movie.
It's a nice movie.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah.
It was reviewed favorably. Carpenter envisioned it as a romantic comedy, similar to It Happened One Night, except with an alien. And Jeff Bridges received an Oscar and Golden Globe nomination for his portrayal of Starman. Jack Nietzsche got the best musical score, so I guess Carpenter didn't score that one. And then after Starman, which I think is an unfair footnote because it wasn't Oscar nominated. Somebody from the film got an Oscar, and nobody talks about Starman anymore.
I never heard of it.
It's not really mentioned in the pantheon of Carpenter films. It's a great movie.
I've
It's
heard
really
of it.
good.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So then his next financial failure was Big Trouble in Little China, which, again, I think that's unfair. It's a fun movie.
I actually enjoyed Big Trouble in Little China.
He did lose a lot, though.
But starting with, I think after Starman, you start seeing the decline of interest in him, and his movies start not
Big Trouble in China is
transcending the
another cult
genre.
classic, though.
The exploitation.
So Big Trouble in Little China is another cult classic.
That's the thing. So many of his films that failed back then, like The Thing or like Big Trouble in Little China, are now big cult classics that everybody loves. If you're a film nerd, you love these movies, the chances are. So at this time, he was after
Didn't
Big Trouble.
that have Kurt Russell in it too?
Yeah, that was them working together again. And it had a great cast of many Asian actors that we know. James Hong was the main bad guy, which was great. And Kim Cattrall, who was coming off of Police Academy, was in that one. But they didn't latch on to it. And it's a hoot. It's a shame. It's a fun movie.
Well, it's not for everybody's taste, though.
No, it's a drive-in movie, is what it is. It's a movie you would have gone to the drive-in and saw and enjoyed and said, this is a hoot. And then
it's definitely an exploitation kind of movie serious people, if you're looking for anything, you're not
avoid that, serious film fans. It's just a fun movie. So he went back to making lower-budget movies because Big Trouble in Little China was another big-budget studio film.
Yeah.
So after that, he did Prince of Darkness, his second in the Apocalypse trilogy. And it was influenced by the BBC series Quatermass. I don't know that I understand Prince of Darkness even now.
I've never seen it.
There's a cylinder that is dripping Satan somewhere contained in a monastery. Not a monastery, but like an inner city
church.
Yeah.
The cylinder is dripping Satan?
Yeah,
as a fluid?
And then it's like they're bringing this
his essence.
His essence. It's a quantum physics kind of explanation or something. And it's creepy. It's a scary movie. It's really creepy, but as you're going through the movie, you're going, okay, these people are smarter than I am. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. This is beyond
It's one of those
me.
things when you use science to justify what you want it to justify.
That is exactly it. It's sci-fi and horror.
I had someone ask me,
and you go, I don't know what this is.
The old, if we only use such and such % of our brain, I said, you could stop there. The conversation doesn't need to continue.
Right. Such a weird movie, scary as hell.
Ooh.
Alice Cooper plays a homeless guy in it.
That image.
Oh yeah, when the chick, it's almost like the zombie thing when somebody gets bit. When they get possessed by Satan, they're in the house with all of them. Yeah,
I just envisioned this person
made money,
laying under a pipe with Satan dripping.
Yeah. It made almost $10 million.
Yeah, it did. It did well.
With Satan dripping into their mouth.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was, and it was weird. It was so weird. Again, stylistically, it's Carpenter. It's neat to look at. It's pretty for a horror movie, but you just go, I wish I knew what the hell that was about.
Did he go back to writing his own music for that one?
I am not sure. Yes, I'm almost certain that for that it has the sound.
I think his lower budget movies. I think he wrote
the music for all of them. Yeah, to save money.
To save money.
So after that, he did They Live in 1988. They Live with Rowdy Roddy Piper. He's working with Keith David again. And several of the other peoples he'd worked with. Buck Flower, which he had worked with for many years.
Buck Flower,
yeah. Yeah, he played the homeless guy in somebody. He was the homeless guy in Back to the Future at the end. He was the drunk on the park bench there.
Buck Flower? Okay.
Buck Flower.
His name's actually George.
Is it? George Flower? George Buck Flower?
That's how he's listed on IMDb.
He did Drive-In Massacre, something about a drive-in. He wrote and directed that piece of schlock. It was horrible. And again, They Live got a cult audience, but mainstream audiences are not going to latch on to it. It's a great sci-fi. Did he make money? I'm surprised.
About $10 million on that one too.
Well, it's easier to make money if you don't spend as much.
The budget was only $4 million.
Yeah, and this was the day of video where you could have one go onto the video market.
Its IMDb rating is pretty good, actually.
It's a fun movie. It's a really fun movie. It's about it's classist. It's the most political statement that Carpenter's ever made, but. You have these lower class working people who are now relegated to living in tent cities and stuff, and then you have the wealthier people, and then Roddy Piper comes across a pair of glasses that, when you put them on,
allows him to see the world.
He allows them to see these alien people or the wealthy people. And then each sign, the sign is actually subliminal propaganda, billboards and stuff like that. That is like, watch TV, be obedient, stuff like that.
Sleep, sheeple.
And so Roddy Piper is going to infiltrate these aliens, and it's fun as hell. But it really makes a big point about class divide and stuff like that. It's great.
How to keep people down.
Keeping people down. It's very Orwellian, which is wonderful. He was offered the chance to direct Exorcist III in 1989. He met with William Peter Blatty, who did the novel Legion, which I recommend if you've never read it. It's fantastic. But they couldn't agree on how it should go, so they moved on. In 1992, Carpenter took a pretty big hit when he did Memoirs of an Invisible Man with Chevy Chase. I think it's
That was a Carpenter movie?
Wow. I thought it was fun.
He lost a lot
bad.
on that one, too.
That one really, he took the biggest hit of his career. It became like an Ishtar-like flop.
Like $30 million loss.
Yeah, they lost money. Commercially, it did horribly. I saw it at the drive-in. I thought it was great. In 95, he did Village of the Damned.
I remember that one. That's the one with the blonde children, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a remake of that. And here's the problem with something like Village of the Damned. The remake's great. It's Christopher Reeve. It's a good movie. At the time, there was this resurgence of, do you remember how great those old movies used to be? And so you'd see a remake of
again.
Village of the Damned, Carnival of Souls, The Toolbox Murders later on in the 90s or early 2000s, which was a good movie, The Toolbox Murders remake. It was far better than the original. The problem with those is nobody knows what the fuck Village of the Damned is. Unless you're a horror fan. Right. You're appealing to one specific audience. He did an Escape from L.A., which is a critical and financial failure. And for good reason. It's
not a good movie.
It was a shitty movie.
That's a sequel that should have been left on the...
Well, they had that big resurgence of interest at the time. So they were like, it's going to be great, Escape from L.A., and it wasn't. It just wasn't.
Because you take all these ideas and you make a great movie with it once, but you can't use it to try and figure out how to use these same ideas again.
And it was just, let's see what wacky things we can do in this part of the world. And
you're not coming up with the original story. You're trying to take the original story beats and just find a new...
That was it. That was it. They were like, Steve Buscemi's hot. Let's have him as a smart-ass character. And then we'll put a tranny in there, which they did. And it was like, I think Pam Grier played a she-male. And so they just went so wacky that you go, what are you doing?
Right.
Guys, what are you doing? This is not good.
Right, because it's no longer about the story. It's
That's
about
exactly
the
it. It was completely gimmicky. He then did a television horror anthology that was made with Tobe Hooper called Body Bags, and it's a lot of fun. It's very Tales from the Cryptish kind of. It's a hoot. Again, it's John Carpenter having fun, and I love it when the horror directors collaborate. These legendary horror directors, and they come up with some pretty good stuff. And we'll touch on that briefly later. But it's 1995's In the Mouth of Madness that I really want to talk about here for a minute. It's an homage to Lovecraft.
Okay.
With the Elder Gods theory, and it messes with what is real, what is not real. The essence of it is Sam Neill is an insurance investigator, and he's hired to investigate a missing author who's very Stephen King-like, Lovecraftian, really. The Stephen King's the best example we can have in modern time, and he thinks it's a publicity stunt by the insurance company. So he and this lady that works for the insurance company have to find this small town that he writes about in all of his books, an apparently fictional town. And then they figure out how to get there. And they go there, and this town is fucked up. It's a Lovecraftian town with slithery, tentacly monsters. And they find the writer, but the writer may just be the devil. He may,
It happens sometimes.
Yeah, it's and he makes it known. He's like, they see all this terrifying, horrific stuff. It's a great movie, and the writer's going, I don't know how you made this shit happen. I don't know. This stunt has gone too far. It's too weird. And then the writer makes him realize that he's writing this guy's story. He's writing everything, and it becomes him wondering whether he is a fictional character that's being played with and written in this story. It blows your freaking mind. And at the end of the movie, you go, I don't know what that was about, but it was great. Unlike Prince of Darkness, where you go, that was decent, but I'm going home now.
Whoa, what was the name of this thing again?
In the Mouth of Madness.
Sam Neill.
Sam Neill. And, Sam Neill, Jürgen Prochnow is in it. The guy that played Vigo from Ghostbusters 2, he's in it. It's terrifying. It's great. It really is.
Charlton Heston is in it?
One of my favorite. Yeah, Charlton Heston plays the main publisher guy. So that one did not do well commercially or with critics. I think it was marketed poorly. And in the mid-'90s, if you weren't Scream, you had troubles. You know, people were not really attaching themselves to horror films too much. And Scream came out the year after In the Mouth of Madness and sort of revitalized everything.
But it was also making fun of the genre at the same time that it was doing the genre.
It for as much as I love it, it's another movie that is obviously made for horror fans.
Well, here's also part of, I think, what was going on with Carpenter's. By now, people think of Carpenter as a certain kind of director.
Right there. He's in a box.
He's boxed in, and so people they say, oh, it's a John Carpenter movie, and so they make a choice to go see the movie based on him without knowing anything about the movie.
Right. And at this time, horror fans were relegated to the convention scene, marginalized. Yeah. So that if you were a normal person, you didn't go seeking John Carpenter movies out. That was for the horror fans only by the 90s.
Yeah.
And then after that, in 1998, he did Vampires, John Carpenter's Vampires, which is just a great fun. If you could do a horror western with vampires as the main bad guys, that's what you'd get. And it's ingenious, the sort of way he turns these tropes on their head. Just a fun, great movie. I don't like James Woods lately as far as his political stances, the stuff that he's saying.
He's a good actor, though.
He was so good in this movie. He was a lot of fun. An actor we call Fat Baldwin, I think it was Daniel Baldwin, Fat Baldwin, was played his best buddy in this. And it's about the Catholic Church that sends out teams of vampire hunters to root out these vampire nests. And pretty much, they're just slaying them. That's their job, to go around. The church pays them to go around and slay them. And then shit goes bad. And then that's the movie. It's a great adventure western with vampires.
It's a western, though.
I'd squarely call it a western because
does it take place in the Old West or
in the Southwest? Yeah, it definitely has a.
But is it modern or is it?
No, it's modern.
Okay.
Yeah, for the 90s, it was 98. Now it's vintage because it was 20 years ago. But after that...
No, but when you said Western, I imagine guys on horses...
No,
riding around with their...
No, it's a modern Western. It's a lot of Western tropes, as you would have. And then the last major one that we're going to talk about is Ghost of Mars, and we're not going to talk about that for long. It was released... yeah, seriously. It was released in 2005, and they were it's the same Rio Bravo kind of thing that he used in Assault on Precinct 13 and really The Fog. And he has defined his involvement in that movie as, I come in and say hello to everybody and go home. And that was his directorial duties. It had Ice Cube in it. It was totally a studio film. And it was very, a lot of stunt casting and stuff like that.
Jason Statham.
Yeah, good cast. But I think at this point, Carpenter was like, okay, fuck it, I'm done. I'm done. He had not been doing great in the 90s. I love his work, but he wasn't making a whole lot of money with him anymore.
Did you see he made a movie in the 2000s?
What was that, The Ward? I would like to see it, and I know nothing about it.
Let me tell you one thing about it.
Yeah.
Budget was $10 million. It grossed less than $500,000.
Jesus Christ. Isn't that awful?
Sounds like a man whose career has passed the sell-by date.
Well, right now he's working as a producer on the 2018 Halloween remake,
which looks pretty solid.
It looks awesome. It's Danny McBride writing the script.
I think it skipped like everything after the first one or the second one.
It does. After the first one, I think. Maybe the second one.
I don't recall it.
But it's definitely, she knows he's alive. She's waiting for him.
Yeah.
It looks fun as hell.
It'll be interesting to see just Jamie Lee Curtis in that, what she does with the character.
So, he directed all but the second Halloween's
No, he only directed the first one.
Yeah. So the others were all the studio.
What I was looking at
for earlier, the most part,
What I was looking at IMDb earlier when I was misconstruing what he had done was apparently it listed what he did on soundtracks before it listed him as a director. So I was looking at things.
Okay, yeah.
He didn't do the soundtrack of the second one. He did.
He did the soundtrack for the third one. He wrote the second one, but it was Rick Rosenthal that directed that one. And then the fourth and fifth one, Alan Howarth did the music for that, but it was based on John Carpenter.
The thing is, for me, with looking at his filmography, he's done a lot of trash.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take away from the great ones that he made.
Right. I agree. And even the ones that are trash, I love them.
Yeah.
I love most of his movies. Not Ghosts of Mars, but I love most of them.
Any creative person does a lot of crap. Because you have to do the crap to get to the good stuff.
Yeah, that's how you find out what's good.
It just kind of looked like his went the opposite way. And he started with some of the best stuff of his career.
He started strong early on.
I don't know if he got beaten down. I don't know if it was studio involvement on the other ones. I don't know if maybe sometimes his vision just didn't pan out.
I bet largely it was studio involvement, I would like to say. I think it was a bad time to be a legendary horror director.
Yeah.
Because at this point, until 1996, Wes Craven was not doing great.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing a whole lot of great work. Romero, in the 90s, it was tough for him as well.
Yeah, he still didn't have the biggest
horror, really, from 1988, after Hellraiser, which really kind of revolutionized modern horror at that time. We were going away from the slasher films. We were even moving away from Nightmare on Elm Street, where they had become parodies of themselves. You had the Hellraiser series coming on. It was new and edgy and dark and more realistic, I guess. You had the direct-to-video stuff. So horror became this niche audience, and that niche could not buy enough tickets for these movies.
And I think part of the problem is when you just keep doing remakes of the original story,
that's a big problem.
Also collapses your audience. Because you're not each remake isn't bringing in more people. It's just it's a derivative for the fans who are still willing to buy off the success of the previous film.
That's exactly it.
And
again, Village of the Damned might have been a great old movie. Horror fans knew what it was, and nobody else. And even horror fans at the time, you had I guess these posers, and you've always got those in every marginalized group, but. Most people didn't know what Village of the Damned was.
I was young in the time when he was doing some of these things. And I remember constantly seeing movie critics and on TV shows and the newspaper, just every horror movie that came out was terrible. That was so I would I'm not going to say that. It got 1 star. I know. Yeah.
And those are great movies.
I know we say now that who cares what critics say, and I'm of the age now where I don't care. But I think there was a time in the 90s when they actually did have critical power.
Well, that reminds me of the final. I know we're running out of time, but the final point I want to make here. Yesterday I got home. I wanted to watch a James Bond movie.
Okay.
couldn't find a 1 except for Spectre, and I wanted to watch some of the other ones before I watched Spectre. So I actually settled with the Get Smart movie with Steve Carell.
Yeah. The Rock.
I don't know, and I was a big fan of Get Smart, the TV show with Don Adams back in the day. I don't know that I've ever laughed so much as I did with that movie.
I saw it in theaters.
It cracked me up, and those laughs keep coming at you.
Yeah.
Critics absolutely hated it. It made no money. I don't think audiences understood it, but there's a Brooksian element to the script where there were jokes that I caught that I thought nobody's going to catch that. It's so subtle, nobody's going to catch it.
The thing about Get Smart, the television series, while it was a hit, is not something that most people today would get.
No, it's a cult. It's another cult thing.
It's a cult thing that it was a specific humor to the time.
Yeah.
So the movie remake, I love I think the movie is great.
Yeah.
Because they did it. There were a couple Get Smart movies made with the original cast.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
And
like the Nude Bomb. The Nude Bomb was one of them.
They didn't do so well, but the reimagining of the whole idea with Steve Carell, I thought it was a really good movie. But
I think he's an underrated actor.
I agree with that.
Did you guys see Foxcatcher?
No. Is that about the wrestling coach?
Yeah, he played kind of the wrestling coach.
Horrifying
really disturbing.
bad guy.
Very impressive performance.
Well, he's going to get an Oscar nomination at some point. I don't know that he already has.
Maybe
Maybe for
doing as much recently.
He's done a lot.
He's done a lot of.
Battle of the Sexes was a recent movie.
I would like to see that.
That's a good movie. That's a really good movie.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, I think part of the problem with especially horror movies in the 90s was that they weren't coming up with original ways to be suspenseful and because if you look, the movies that I love, like Rosemary's Baby, you never it's not a slasher movie at all, but
nothing
it's suspenseful
for an hour and a half.
It's suspenseful as hell, and the same thing with The Thing. It builds up the suspense, and so I think that they weren't looking at new ways to take movies that transcend genres and make it create a horror movie within this other kind of a story.
Yeah. The funny thing, when I saw Rosemary's Baby, I didn't understand it. I need to watch it again because now that I think about it, the whole paranoia that Rosemary's going through with Ruth Gordon, because something's off, and even Ralph Bellamy, you go, what a nice old doctor, but something's not right. There's just that tinge of unsettled, but it's nothing. You can't put your finger on
and
why.
Everybody around her is saying that she's the one going crazy, but she's the only sane person there.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody else is making her have the devil's baby.
Yeah.
It's good. I know. It happened in my tenement just last week. We tried to force someone to have Satan's baby, and it didn't pan out.
And Deckheads, if you have had Satan's baby, we need to know about it.
We need to see video of that.
Because the Catholic Church has paid us to take care of Satan's babies around.
Right, just like John Carpenter's vampires.
Exactly.
The wild cards have now been commissioned to take care of supernatural things. Right, Satan's babies.
We have to
kill Satan's babies. And if you have a putt that's dripping Satan, please
don't drink from it.
Please drink from it. Block it off.
We're talking to the EPA about dripping Satan pipes right now.
We're losing authority. The current administration doesn't care as much.
Yeah, they don't care about it, but I think they're in league with the devil anyway.
But the good news, the wild cards are here to protect you from all such occurrences.
Right.
If you have any thoughts on John Carpenter's filmography, Halloween, The Thing, any of the ones,
or his TV works later with Masters of Horror, Cigarette Burns,
or even if you've seen some of the movies that Ron has seen that maybe Jeff and I haven't seen some of them later as well.
Yeah, talk
you have
about
thoughts
them.
on them. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
I always want to talk to people about them because nobody but me has seen these movies.
Or people that go on the tours and do the conventions.
Right, the conventions and all that. Honestly, the last thing, me and my brother-in-law, we could either see Pulp Fiction. We went to the movies every Tuesday because it was $1 night.
Oh, yeah.
Or no, they were always $1. It was just that was the best night for us. But we were going to the movie and it was either watch Pulp Fiction for the second time or watch In the Mouth of Madness. And he wanted to watch Pulp Fiction for the second time. And so I just went along with it. When I saw In the Mouth of Madness on video, I was like, you know what, pal, fuck you. Fuck you, man.
We missed this.
Exactly. Speaking of my brother-in-law, they're hiring at Nightmare Forest on August 15th, this upcoming Saturday at 5 o'clock.
August 15th?
September 15th. Sorry about that. So if you want a job in the haunted house business, these are great people to do it with.
Contact them on Facebook, you said?
On Facebook, and they'll get a hold of you. You can just message them there. But yeah, for further information, they've got a Facebook page. They will be hiring. It's a lot of fun. It's a fun job going up into the Halloween season.
Also, just a quick plug for Mamma Mia coming up soon. We got 2 weekends of that show.
Yeah, September 14th.
13th. We open the 13th.
Yeah.
So tomorrow.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you out for that because we're definitely not filming this weeks in advance.
No, absolutely not.
We're not filming it.
Yeah, we're filming nothing. But Jared, take us out. Take us out here.
And until next time, stay wild.
That's 33
we
RPM.
recorded that slower for you.
Right, just for you guys. 33 RPM.
No, that's normal.
Speed.